Hello and welcome to another 30 minutes Thursday tea time at 3:30. As ever, it's half an hour. You get under the skin of a company adapting to the revised reality, this time with Ryan Jones, one of the global digital transformation leads at Henkel, a huge consumer goods behemoth. Then we've got two spectacular solutions partners from our portfolio who'll wow us with solutions to enhance digital engagement and achieving actionable insights by harnessing the true voice of the customer. I'm also joined by Ben and Andy from Grey Hair Works. I must apologise, I seem to be having the occasional internet glitch, but if so, Ben will take over. As ever, thanks to Hayes McIntyre and Lewis Silkin for their support and genuinely useful content and free advice on legal stuff and accounting stuff. If you need any introductions to them for free advice, please just let us know. So, the wily old fox, Mr. Sorrell, has suggested that COVID-19 is a burning platform for digital acceleration this week, and who are we to disagree with him? And we're seeing this impact everywhere. In the UK, online groceries sales have doubled in the last few months, and from last May, when 4.8 million households were ordering food online, we're now at 10.6. And obviously, we know the main reasons why, but at the same time, everyone seems to accept that the upwards trajectory will be maintained as we exit lockdown, and the general consensus is that COVID has probably caused digital to advance by about 5 years in a matter of months. These data points are also reinforced by our chums at Signified, one of our solutions partners. Signified reduced fraud and decreased disputed online transactions. So in effect, they create free money for over 10,000 merchants in over 100 countries. And they produce some really fascinating data, which is updated on a weekly basis. So this is all based on last week, based on over 2.5 million transactions and $2.6 billion in annual GMV. And what they show is comparing last week and current times to February before lockdowns began around Europe. Online is up more than 50%. But then if you drill down to the individual different categories, you see all sorts of weird ones. My favorite is tobacco, booze and cannabis, the holy trinity of naughtiness, which has seen 59% growth over the period. And whilst dwarfed by the growth in auto parts and home goods and decor, I suspect leads to a lot more fun. If you need access to this report, please again let us know. And then finally, a reminder of who we are again. What we like to say is we're folk who've been around the block rather than youth, but in a nutshell, we're 50-old lags. We're all sort of C-level folk with brand, tech, retailer and agency backgrounds. We embrace useful information. We cut through the crap finding the gems, and we're all about curating proven solutions from nimble vendors who have already proven themselves. And increasingly, we're curating services from nimble suppliers who've also proven themselves. One such organization which has demonstrated how a large company is able to react rapidly in exceptional times is Henkel. And Henkel is a huge company which maybe people don't know as well as they should. Henkel have over 20 billion in revenues, over 50,000 employees, 3 divisions: adhesive, brands like Loctite, beauty care, companies like Schwarzkopf and Rightguard, and laundry and home care brands like Persil. And they pride themselves on having a competitive edge in the areas of innovation, sustainability, and digital. And so I'm delighted to welcome Ryan Jones, Digital and Transformation Lead at Henkel. Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome on board. Let me just spotlight you for everyone else. Ryan, I suspect that digital transformation has become much more important in the last few months. And how have you guys adapted?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Greetings from Germany. And thanks for the intro, Alex. Yeah, it's I think for everybody on the call, it's been a crazy past few months. You know, the crisis has as Martin Sorrell said, really been a catalyst for all things digital, I think, and we saw that in the numbers that Alex shared with e-commerce. So, it's been a terrible human tragedy. It's been a terrible, rough time economically, and it will continue to be that way for everyone. So, but in light of that, I think, as Alex mentioned, I think at Henkel we're just making it through like everybody else, but we feel like we felt like we've done as good a job as we can given the circumstances. And we've been doing things around leveraging digital channels where we can. We launched a global solidarity program, which included a number of things to help out folks around the globe. We also started producing disinfectant. I think you heard a number of companies doing that as well. But on the digital side, we did things like one of our divisions. If some of you know Henkel a bit better, we do professional hair care, and all of us couldn't get to the salon or to the stylist in the last few months. So we launched something called helpyoursalon.com, where you could go in and purchase some of your favorite products that you typically get at the salon, and we did that really quickly, turned that around. We saw and we pushed heavily on e-commerce immediately as we saw the crisis coming through. We internally pulled together, and as you saw the e-commerce numbers, that has been a bright spot. In our laundry and home care division, we saw double-digit growth, in line with what you've seen on that chart, and have been pushing through that. And one of the things I would say that we've learned is really, yes, we're a big company, but in this point in time, brands can play, I think, a strong role in reassuring consumers as the crisis hits that, hey, we've got some great content to help you with if you're looking for hygiene support, because a lot of folks were asking questions around hygiene in this time, and we have some of those home care type of products that can support there. And so we've seen that the rapid production of more content around that hygiene area has been really helpful for consumers, and again, big brands can play a nice role in that space, and so that's what we've been focused on as well. So we've experienced a tremendous upsurge in e-commerce. I think e-commerce is definitely one of the big stories. So yeah, that's a quick intro.
And I mean, we've seen other big brands play with D2C. Do you think this is going to form part of or become more important for you as you move forward?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think we've had some really interesting additions to our portfolio, our brand portfolio, over the past couple of years. And one great example is a brand called eSalon, and it's a direct-to-consumer play. And for everyone out there who was used to coloring their hair on a regular basis, like I said, you couldn't get to the salon. So with the direct-to-consumer play, you could order direct from eSalon and get a personalized, personalized coloration that you could use at home, and that was super helpful for people. And we saw, eSalon orders pick up like six times or 6x growth during the crisis. And so I think those direct channels, and especially in times like now, are super critical. We were able to launch a couple of additional channels and efforts that were kind of already in the pipeline, and we pushed ahead and moved those out front as quickly as we could, and rapid speed. So I see a big space for again that direct relationship. So yeah, important area.
And do you see Henkel learning from some of these things, and do you reckon they'll be able to move more rapidly in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mean, in every crisis you get a number of learnings, and we're trying as we transform to really become even more of a learning organization than we are. And again, picking up all those e-commerce valuable learnings that we've gotten, understanding how, again, we can adapt, and we can adapt our content. Like I'm sure everybody on the call, with respect to their campaigns and the type of content that they're producing on the fly. I think we've really learned that, the more that we can pull together across silos and just work and just focus tremendously on that end consumer and just deliver the content that that end consumers need to be reassured in difficult times, especially if you play in more critical categories. I think those are learnings we're going to definitely take with us. Is just really focusing on the consumer as hard as we can every day, every moment.
So, I mean, it sounds as if collaboration across departments is going to become more important. And do you think this is causing you guys as a whole to recognise that innovation is both here to stay, but needs to be front and centre of your activity?
So, I mean, I think on innovation, it's been something that, I think Henkel's really working toward driving and pushing, already. So we've been, really working on building that, great innovation, pipeline. And, of course, this type of crisis opens your eyes to new opportunities, new possibilities that you can throw into that pipeline. So, we just continuing to keep our minds open for opportunity. And continuing to build that innovation pipeline, and we just know we're able to adapt, and we've seen that. We've seen some really interesting examples in our adhesive division. Actually, we were able to really quickly partner with a number of small companies to develop an interesting sort of sensor from our printed electronics division in the industrial side of our business. That could help monitor, the vital signs of coronavirus patients, and we were able to do that super quickly during the crisis, and just again finding opportunity in the crisis to help and to really serve consumers better, and that was a fantastic example. And we've just got a number of those at Henkel, and I'm like I said, I'm super pleased and super proud of the organization for how they've responded from the global solidarity programs down to helping out the salons when that business was really underwater, to our industrial adhesive division jumping in there. So everybody really joining hands and collaborating.
Right, Ben here quickly. Have you seen a specific mindset change within Henkel in terms of embracing digital transformation with accelerated interest because of what's been happening?
Well, I think we've been working to change the mindset. So this process is already moving, and but I think the mindset it's just everybody was in this together. So I think everybody felt that we needed to find ways to just help, and Henkel has a great DNA for being just a super corporate citizen, and very focused on sustainability. And so everybody, I think, really came to the table with, hey, we want to help. Of course, there was a lot of internal change because everybody had to get online. And we've all experienced this, and I think having from the very top to the bottom, everybody working in collaboration tools, and using getting out of their typical email inbox and using different collaborative chat tools that we're all using. I think that also helps to sort of shift the mindset, and just just a number of those efforts to collaborate digitally, I think has been there. So yeah, I feel like it's yeah.
What I'd like to do at this stage, if I may, is bring in Alan from Ad-Lib, because Alan, I think what you're able to share with us is how engaging with digital audiences on a more personalised level delivers great rewards. So, Alan, if you'd like to share a little bit about Ad-Lib, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Ryan. And hi, everyone. So just to quickly introduce, I'm co-founder of Ad-Lib, and Ad-Lib are a creative management platform which really exists to help you launch great digital creative. So first, I think I'd draw your attention to the ad world that we live in. So what you'll see on the next slide is the profusion of digital formats that we're very, very used to, and that cause, to be honest, a huge amount of problems when it comes to production, delivery, and insights. And that's why we built Ad-Lib. So we're fully aware that creative drives 70% of campaign performance. But the problem we increasingly see across all our customers, regardless of the sector, is that if you're launching digital creative, it's an absolute nightmare doing that across channel, cross format, and cross-market and on best practice. So this is the key challenge that we're solving for all our customers. And why should brands care? So simply, great creative directly impacts performance, including making your marketing spend more efficient. So generally what we find is that clients spend a huge amount of time segmenting their audiences to the nth degree, but then they serve them all the same ads. But by making creative more relevant, you actually increase engagement and media spend efficiency, as well as all the benefits from running great creative. And the only way to run the amount of creative that you really should be running is by using technology. This significantly brings the costs right down, and that's why we don't bill on a per asset cost, so that some of our customers run hundreds, if not thousands of ads, if that campaign is right for them, particularly showcasing different products. So the way we do this is through automation. There's 3 stages to it really. Firstly, templating. So we have our fix and flex model. And this is something that ensures brand governance while enabling you to flex creative to all your different audiences. The second thing is that we use our post-production AI to auto-resize and edit video content as well. And finally, we have direct integrations into Google and Facebook and YouTube and other media buying channels. And this helps speed activation, trafficking, and setup. So a lot of that can actually be done in advance of creative being produced, and then it can be set live very, very quickly. So just diving into our fix and flex model a bit deeper, here you can see it at work. You can see that there's a clear template that's in operation here, and you can see the different different creative elements that change from creative to creative. And this is what we're doing to make creative most relevant. And once you have this structure in place, you can extrapolate it into a huge amount of relevant creative. The other things that we're doing is thinking of other sorts of relevance triggers you might want to apply to a campaign. And rather than sitting on the media side, these can sit on the creative side. So things like geo, weather, time of day, product feeds, remarketing feeds, we can use these to trigger creative. And finally, optimization. So we're constantly optimizing creative during a campaign. And this leads to interesting creative insights that brands simply just didn't have access to before. As you'll see, and these can be related to signals, to offline sales, to general engagements. There's all sorts of learnings we can take, and it's that part of creative strategy that we're really interested in. Another thing is that we can use our templates to be very responsive in the live environment. So here are a couple of examples of how we've responded during COVID. So this links campaign was set live just as COVID hit, and then within 2 days we replaced the campaign with more video content that's more focused around home imagery to ensure that the creative was most relevant to people at home. And then we also did the same sort of thing for Specsavers display. So the links concept was using video content, but for Specsavers display on the next ad, again, it was using more home-based imagery to make the ad as relevant as possible. So you can be incredibly responsive. The final slide, so it's just a call out really that we're already integrated in your current setup. So we're partners with Google and Facebook and YouTube. We're certified creative partners. This means we've done the heavy lifting of integrating with the accounts. We just need a couple of IDs in order to start pushing creative to Facebook and to Google and Facebook, and also to be ingesting data back to report on it. This means that we can really focus on running great creative campaigns for you and taking insights to optimize performance, and focus on reusing your templates with fresh content. So once we build a template, you might have a template you use for once a year, like a Black Friday template. Once that's built, you can get 3 or 4 years use out of it without having to produce it every single year. Finally, last point, we don't drop any cookies, and our alignment with Google and Facebook means that you'll be able to continue to personalize when the cookie finally disappears, whenever that is, but probably within the next 18 months. So thank you very much for your time.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, I got
any thoughts?
I got a question, Helen. So thanks for that. So this is fascinating. It seems like you're doing a lot of work, on the creative side, together with with the automated solution and the brand. How does a typical agency slot in to the process? A typical creative agency.
Yeah, no, great question. So what we see Ad-Lib is the engine really that enables personalization at scale. So we don't do creative concepting and we don't do media buying at all. So what we are doing is taking the concepts that creative agencies produce and the assets and the video content and aligning those to all the targeting strategies. So you might have 10 audiences, for example, and 5 assets, and we're finding out the best way to align the content for those audiences to make the creative relevant. So I think a final point of that would be often creative agencies and media agencies have been trying to play around in this tech space and not doing a great job of it. But this means that the creative, that they're focusing on doing what they do best, and we're the engine that aligns everything together.
Yeah, that's great. How can you talk us through? You talked a bit about AI. Can you talk us through how you guys specifically leverage AI in this process? Like how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we think of AI as serving two purposes. Firstly, pre-flight. So this is the resizing and editing the assets, which I alluded to in the presentation. And this enables us to repurpose content for the variety of digital formats, very, very quickly. We've also got things like a banner resizer, which means for markets where there are lots of different banner sizes, like the Nordics, we can quite quickly accommodate a campaign running 20 banner sizes, as just as easily as a campaign that runs 6. And the second thing we think about AI is in-flight. So we're using automated tagging to tag up the creative elements. So we can use Google Cloud Vision to appreciate what the components of an image are. And these feed all the way through to reporting so that we can then connect performance data to those creative elements to really understand what's driving performance. And the more data we feed Ad-Lib, the more it becomes a machine learning tool and self-learning to make ever more powerful creative insights and recommendations.
Got it. So if we
Brilliant. Well, that was great. Thank you very much. But on the back of that, I'd love to bring in Helen from Wordnerds, who will talk about the insights piece and also show how understanding customers and getting actionable insights really drives engagement. So Helen, if I could now pass the mantle on to you.
Certainly. Thanks very much, Alex. Thanks, Ryan. So Wordnerds are a next-gen text analytics startup that uses AI and advanced linguistics to teach computers to read and genuinely understand language. We're aware that many of you will be quite familiar with social listening tools and have used them before to try and gain insight from customers. And while they're great for the quant stats around marketing campaigns, they haven't historically been very good at understanding text. They all fundamentally count words and treat them like numbers. Things like the sentiment score and word clouds are kind of prevalent in that. But language doesn't behave like numbers. It's too weird and predictable. There are regional differences, generational differences, particularly in the UK when it comes to sarcasm. People often write exactly the opposite of what they mean. Take the word outstanding. It's a hugely positive word normally, except when we're talking about debt. And now more than ever, none of us want to be sick, except when you want to be like sick, right? Well, you take my point. Next slide, please, Alex. We're still going. Brill. And again, so Wordnerds is different. Our context engine doesn't just look at patterns for vocabulary. It understands the meaning behind the words themselves, which allows us to group together customers talking about the same thing, irrespective of the vocabulary that they use. So I've run a quick example through our platform around the issue of sustainable packaging. It's quite prevalent at the moment, starting with the example of single-use plastic. So the AI immediately takes that fragment and makes decisions around people talking about the same issue, even though they're using very different words to express it. And we're calling this AI as a service. With no knowledge of data science or NLP, you can train your own AI model to find a subset of data that you care about, and then find out what people are talking about within that subset and understand how they feel. So I don't know if you can see, but on the right-hand side there in the theme builder, we've actually got lots of different ways in which people are talking about single-use plastic. So how does this work in practice? Well, really, we're segmenting data to find the things that you care about, providing topic analysis so you can very quickly and at scale understand the core topics of conversation, but also understand how people feel about them. It also opens the door to allow you to start asking questions that you need from your customers, to test hypotheses and start spotting issues in real time. Obviously, things around COVID are quite prevalent in that kind of category. But understanding issues around whether or not it's a particular issue for lots of people or a very deep issue for a small subset, of which it could be a deal breaker, and understanding as well, how do you, if this is an issue that affects you or everyone in the market. And then to just end, I've got a couple of brief examples that hope bring this to life a little bit more. So we work with Tommy Tippy, which is a baby manufacturer for those who are familiar and are parents. We analyse all of their reviews across all of the different e-commerce platforms. And what we actually found in one of their leading products, which is the Perfect Prep machine, it's a baby bottle heating machine, which is a godsend in the middle of the night. We found in their top level reviews that actually there were kind of critical, a few criticisms around a particular beep and a light that was coming on in the middle of the night and waking the baby up, which they've designed out, and now the average reviews have increased significantly, and that makes a massive difference to things like your Amazon rankings alone. In a potentially similar space to you, Ryan, as well, I think we also work with P&G around market and trend analysis, monitoring the market for new drivers, and we're looking specifically at their laundry section, laundry markets at the moment, that helps to inform product development and campaign strategy.
Helen, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. I must apologise. I've been having awful internet problems, so
don't worry.
I've matched up the slides to what you were saying.
No, that's good.
Ryan, anything for Helen?
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Helen. Typically, are you guys working for sort of the CPG space, or what kind of sectors are seeing the biggest benefits from the tool? And are you guys also working on the B2B side, or is it more
So at the moment, we're kind of focusing on true voice of the customer. So anywhere where it's a big brand with lots of people talking about lots of different things, that tends to be kind of our target market, and it works well. We also work a lot with within regulated industries, partly because there's a regulatory body and they need to be showing at least to be kind of working for the best of their customers. More recently, though, actually, we are seeing a lot more companies are looking to pivot around and understand their market in greater detail, and so particularly off the back of COVID, we're seeing a lot more kind of real-time market research and insights, and that type of customer come forward and want to know more about the space that they're working in.
Got it. Thanks. So how would you say your overall sentiment analysis differs from some of the other tools on the market? And there's a lot out there.
There is.
Congratulations for getting driving a niche.
It's a great question. I suppose that the key differential between kind of your typical social listening tools and everything else on the market from a sentiment point of view is around the kind of point that I brought up before. So we're a linguistics first approach, and we're trying to get to the bottom of nuanced language, and actually, typically data science approaches don't work, and we're starting to see the very beginnings of those types of platforms coming in, and they are using data science and they're using it to a degree, but what we found is that it's still providing levels of inaccuracy. We do human marked accuracy tests against the likes of Google NLP and IBM Watson, and whilst they're catering for a much wider market, what we are finding is there is still anomalies and problems with language. The example of kind of outstanding debt and outstanding exam results is it's an example that everyone kind of understands, but there's always those nuanced double meanings across every different vertical, really, and therefore there's lots more that we can do around the structure of language that makes our stuff more accurate.
Brilliant. Listen, thanks very much. And just to do a 1-minute recap at the end, I really want to thank Ryan for joining us today. We picked up all sorts of bits from him, everything from their global solidarity program, telling people how to wash their hands, creating new content, seeing overall digital sales increase, and the key one for me is seeing a 6-fold increase in personalized hair colorations as with grey hair works. I'm not necessarily sure that's something which is relevant to us, but it's a good learning. Ad-Lib have shown how it is possible to deliver personalized programmatic content at scale and adapt it really quickly in light of COVID. And finally, Wordnerds have showed why word clouds are crap, sentiment scores are pretty rubbish. However, really understanding language allows you to deliver actionable insights. And in that way, it's sick, apparently, as it would appear youth say. Thanks for coming along for this session. In a fortnight's time, on Thursday the 18th, we've got Talia Finlay, who's Digital Director of Royal Canin, the premium pet food arm of Mars, plus 2 solutions partners. To get in touch with us, to have access to the reports, to be introduced to any of the speakers, to learn anything else, just email us at our normal email addresses or bingo@greyhairworks.com. Once again, a big thank you to Lewis Silkin and Hayes McIntyre, our sponsors. If you need any legal or financial assistance, let us introduce you to them. They will help you out. Other than that, thank you all for attending. Hope it's been of use and look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time.